Welcome to the Believe in Your Office podcast, sponsored by Boomerang and Common Sense Office Furniture, the podcast where we explore what makes workplaces work. Every episode features candid conversations with leaders, business professionals, and workplace experts who've been in the trenches. They share the real stories, the wins, the failures, and the lessons learned about culture, teamwork, and leadership that actually matter. Let's get into it. John, welcome to the Believe in Your Office podcast. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate it. Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're super excited. And obviously, if you could just, as a starter, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Myself, I am John. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My dad, it's by myself, like from a commercial furniture standpoint, if that's what we're talking about, and believing in myself from that. My dad started in the business in probably 85, in 1985, not 1885. I think the first desk was designed in 1885. And he started with a company called Aaron Rent's Office Furniture. So I used to go to the office with him and just work in the warehouse. And I would go around, running around, doing that kind of stuff. And then in 1995, my dad finally opened a store. I went to private school with my brother and sisters, with my dad only being a furniture delivery guy. I always found that fascinating. My mom never worked, and my dad just delivered furniture. That's crazy, you know. And now we have to have like 4 incomes coming in. But I got out of it in 2001. I got married, got out of it, started an erosion control business, which is like hydro seeding, the silk fence, like land management kind of stuff. I did that for land developers during the economic boom of real estate. And when that crashed, got divorced and got back into this business. But when I got back in the business, I just started out as a delivery guy, an installation guy. And so I've been, married, divorced, got kids, from Georgia, got a big family, but the big family is, they're all up there. I got two younger brothers they each have 4 to 5 kids, and an older sister that has 5 kids.
Yeah. So
And we're not even Catholic. So
that's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
Seems
you.
like a pretty happy, successful life. What is it about the we'll start with the job stuff, and we'll move onward to the personal stuff.
Sure.
When it comes to office furniture, what is it about office furniture that excites you? Is it more or less like the legacy of what your father did, or is it more or less something a little bit more higher than that?
I thought about that, about my dad's thing. If I, because I think there is always this inherent thing to want to always like tell your dad to tell you that he's proud of you, kind of thing. And my dad was a stoic man more than he was a man of like many. He wasn't a man of many words, but he was I mean, my dad's passed away since, but we can talk about that in a minute. I think that probably getting back in the business there was that fine line of, will my dad think it's a great, will I make him proud, kind of thing. But also I learned while working with him and his business partners and the people around that this industry, while it's a very big industry, didn't feel very like it was tapped into very much. It felt very much like you can make a great living doing it, and figure out how to find your niche in a market and work as hard as you wanted to work, or work as little as you wanted to work. And I like that, because my attitude is like freedom. I like freedom more than I like money. I like to have money so that I can have freedom, if that makes sense. And
Yeah, for
so
sure.
when I started talking to sales guys in the business and people that ran the business with my dad and stuff, I was like, what parameters do I need? What areas do I need to look into? And that was where it all started. And then probably just learned to fall in love with it. I learned to see like the young people in my age group, they weren't in the business. It was mostly old people that are in the business, like especially in Atlanta. Most of the business owners, most of the guys that are, they're all sales. They've been, because they're good at it. They've been doing it for 30 years. Why are you going to hand anything off to anybody? Why are you going to try to teach people how to do something else when you've got, 30 clients and you're doing, $3 million a year in sales and revenue like this? And you're working from home, like, 4 days a week. Most of these, I had a guy that he did $4 million a year in sales with one client. It was it was healthcare, but still he wasn't doing, he was riding horses 4 days a week, it seemed like. And that was appealing to me. I was like, oh, you can kind of be able to find your accounts, and you doctor these guys the right way. You learn how to become friends with them, because that was my dad's biggest thing, was how do you get people to spend money with you without realizing that they're spending money. Like they entrust you. You have value in that. The relationship has value. And when the relationship has value, man, like they entrust you with their money. And when they can entrust you with their money, that gives them the freedom to know that you're not going to try to rip them off and you're going to try to get the job done as quick as possible. But also that it's they know you're in this for the I'm trying to build time, stacks of time, not stacks of money, right? So when I say I want to work 5 days a week and bust my tail for 5 days a week and then do X number of dollars in sales, I want to keep that same number, but I want to cut it back to 4 days a week somehow. You know what I mean? Like I like to work really hard so that I can work like I can work less with the same accounts.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Completely makes sense. I mean, I'm just curious, like, how do you build that relationship? So let's kind of start from the very beginning. Let's just say you don't know, you have this client, excuse me, you have
Mm-hmm.
like your favorite client on planet Earth, or your favorite business on planet Earth, and you want to get them as a client. What would your approach be in order to get them as a friend and as a potential customer?
That's very good because I'm at that point right now to
Mm.
figuring that out again. Um, I think you find what interests you because my whole thing right now is the hotel hospitality kind of where I'm in that world, and so it's finding what interest you have, and I also see where it's changing, but you find what interest other people have in the industry or in like if you're trying to sell to a hotel or you're trying to sell to a tech firm and you find that person that's in and you find what interest they have and talk about their interests because the furniture is just furniture. It's not like we don't have anything. It's not special. They're buying you. They're not buying the product. That's what I think. And so when you find that person that you can just talk to about everything, then you take them out for coffee or beer or whatever you do. You go to whatever, golf or comedy shows or whatever it is. The longer you can do that, and the more you can do that consistently with somebody, the longer you're going to keep that client, the longer you're going to hold that client. Because that's to me, like there are a bunch of one-offs in this business for sure. There's a bunch of guys you're going to sell a $10,000 job to, and you're going to get those, and that's just done through like prospect marketing where you just make phone calls and you find people that are moving into Orlando, you find people that are maybe moving from one building to another, you find those people. That is challenging as a person that loves sales and in hunting, and like that's what sales are in this industry. You're hunting people, you're prospecting. Finding that is a challenge. There is a challenge in that because you're trying to figure out where these guys even are and what made them think about moving and what made them think about getting a different space. And that there is there are questions in figuring that out.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
if they Google, then what? They got to call us, and then you got a 30-second pitch you got to have so that you can get them on your side really quick. My thing
Yeah.
is trying to make them laugh as quick as possible.
Mm.
If I can make them laugh as quick as possible on something, then I got it. Then I can talk about anything, and try not to talk about furniture the entire time I'm on the phone with them because that just gets redundant. Oh, they want better ergonomics. They even know what the word ergonomic means, man. And by the way, you can go buy a knife now that has ergonomic on it. You can buy you can go buy a good chef's knife and it'll say ergonomically sound. You're like, what are we talking about here? We're putting ergonomics on everything now. It's just a word.
Can't disagree with that one. It is well said. So like now you have you have the person in mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to stay organized. Are you the type of person that would more or less cold call people? Are you using LinkedIn? Are you using your referral network in order to get conversations with other people?
I'm referral network based. LinkedIn, I get a few people from LinkedIn of people that I know. I'll reach out to clients that I have like in Atlanta and I'll say, hey, look, if you know people in Florida that I can call on, let me know or whatever. I'll do that sometimes. But when I get to know, like I have a meeting tomorrow with a guy at 9, we're walking through his office. Well, in his office, he has, half a floor of a building, 5,000 feet. We take that. I go, hey man, if there's anybody else in this building that you know that I can go talk to right, in the next couple of weeks, let me go talk to him. Let me use your name. Let me get in the building because it is harder and harder to get in these buildings and get appointments. Cold calling, I don't even know if it works. I have no idea. I try as my best not to do it. The thing about this business is they're buying something that they have to buy it. They got to buy it. It's not like a mattress. It's not like going to buy a couch. You probably already have a couch. You probably have a mattress. You probably have a dining room set at your house. It's not the same. If you're hiring 4 more employees, you got to buy 4 seats, 4 desks, 4 whatever it is. You got to buy it. So they're going to buy it from somewhere. So how do you figure out how to make them buy it from you? And that's the determining factor. And I think
That,
I'm a winner. I'm just kidding.
no, you certainly are. I mean, so now I want to dive into the like the thought process. So you have this meeting, you have the contact. It seems like you're in the meeting. It's like, we're in the meeting right now. When you say laugh, right? Like, why is that important to you? Like, why is it making them laugh is one of your first markers of success within a conversation?
I mean, you're breaking down the wall. Every man, if you're in a room with a bunch of men, every man has they carry this wall up, and if you can break that wall down a little bit, so you can inch into some of their you're trying to get into their psychology a little bit. You're trying to figure out what makes them tick, and
Mm,
everybody loves to laugh. That's the thing. Like everybody wants to feel comfortable, and I think when you can make people laugh, they feel more comfortable with things. If you can joke around about certain things, and you figure out which envelopes you can push a little bit and you figure out and then once you and plus I feel like when people laugh they trust you to laugh.
mm,
You can't just make someone laugh. And I do stand-up comedy for not for a living. I do this for a living, but I do it at night. I go out and I'll do stand-up comedy, and you'll find quick that when you get a whole group of people to trust what you are as a person, not as a comedian, as a person, then you can say whatever you want to as a comedian.
mm.
Does that make sense? So getting like I think it values trust when you get people to laugh with you.
Yeah, I listen. I would say that's my biggest sales tactic for myself is in order to
Okay.
get people to laugh. Some people don't have my sense of humor, some others do, and that's okay. But that's when
Yeah.
you know the people are going to be like a really good customer when they understand your sense of humor. I'm like
Exactly.
super dry in my delivery. Um, with that said, I kind of want to understand like who you are as John as a worker and then who you are as John as a stand-up comedian. Do you feel like there's a symbiotic relationship, or do you feel like there's two completely different types of personalities on stage and off stage?
I think it's the same for me. I think it's always been the same. I think even when I was in the business with my dad, doing it in as a furniture installer, like we knew as an installer that making that person comfortable and making their day when we walked into an office was our main goal, and doing that through and it was always us. We were never goofing around, because when you use the word goofing around, it sounds like you weren't working. You were all we would get the job done faster than anybody, because that was our goal, was to make sure we could get it done as quickly and efficiently so we could get out of there, be done with the day, because we were guaranteed the hours. So if we worked harder, we still got paid the same. Um, and then we would go and tell me the next part of the question again. I went blank. I was thinking about
No, it's
playing.
all
I was
good.
thinking
I
about playing
want
football.
like when I think of stand up comedy, right? You
Hmm.
you have a set routine, right? And then
Hmm.
obviously within that routine, you can interchange jokes and introductions, and you kind of want to capture the audience relatively quick. So then they're captivated, and then they can listen to the story and build upon that. I feel like
Hmm.
that's relatively true and very similar in sales. You
Hmm.
kind of have to capture them right away. You have to say something thought provoking or catching, grab them in, and then just kind of nestle them and cradle them like a baby until they go to bed at night. So I kind of want to
Yeah.
see if there's some type of 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 things that you've done in the comedy world that translates well in the sales world and vice versa.
I think in what I've learned because I've only been doing comedy for a year and a half, right? Like all the time. And I think what you learn in comedy for me is that authenticity is the gateway to all of it, right? It's the
Mhm.
gate. So when I'm trying too hard in stand up or even in sales, when I people can smell it. People can smell desperation. They can sniff it out like a pack of wolves. So you got to go. You always have to stay relaxed, even though on the inside you're about to, internally you're trying not to explode, because the nerves are killing you. Then what it's taught me too is like how to stay calm when when you get a lot of I don't know, when the adrenaline starts flowing and you're getting all these laughs, or you're getting like you're in front of you're doing a presentation in front of somebody and you stumble or whatever, and how to breathe a little bit and let things just sit so you can catch yourself again. I really got into stand up, man, to figure out what I think is holding me back from being the person that I'm supposed to be. That was
Mm,
the whole point of stand up. It wasn't like, oh, I got to get into stand up to make people laugh. I've always made people laugh. That's not like, and I don't think I'm trying to do this for a living or anything. I just think it's a fun exercise for me to know how to communicate better, because when I leave an office space, or I leave a meeting or something, or I leave my friends, if I can think of something that I should have said and I didn't say, that bothers me. I'm like, why didn't I say it while I was in there? Why wasn't my brain working fast enough while I was in there to say what I thought that I could have said or should have said? Or why was I afraid to say it? Or could I have said it a way that, if I was afraid to say it, could I have said it in a way that would not have maybe offended them if I thought it was going to offend them, if
mm,
that makes sense.
mhm.
And so it's like it's learning how to think quick on your feet for sure. And then it's learning how to put your sets together. Just like when you go in and do a presentation, it's no different. It's the same thing. You walk in, you have your set, your presentation, you're going, your dot 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 dot, your act. I believe all comics should build an act. They should build a 5 minute set, a 10 minute set, a 15, and then a 30. You build those acts together, and then you can move all your stuff around. But when you start playing with it, you can start to see that, like, then you start to see what makes people laugh this way and that way, and you create a comfortability. That's my whole goal, is figuring out. I want people to feel relaxed about the person that I am as a human, because I do think a little different about certain things, like not politically. I'll try not to do stuff like that, but just the way I was raised. I was raised on a farm. We didn't have air conditioning. I didn't, we didn't have all that stuff. My mom made sourdough bread. Now it's just rich white girls making sourdough bread. You know what I mean? Like it's all like, it's very strange how everything is flipped up on its head now. My daughter plays college softball, and that is, it's an incredible blessing that you get to see girls go play college softball. We didn't even have college softball. We didn't have softball when I was in high school. It didn't
Yeah.
exist. It was slow pitch. And now it's like it's on ESPN. It's crazy. So all of it's changed. So I still try to talk about how the simplicity of life hasn't changed that much. It's just the busyness that we've created around ourselves that's changed. It hasn't changed that
Yeah.
much. If you want to be simple, you can still be simple.
Is it, and I think that's beautifully said. I will say the constant theme in talking to a lot of the people from your company has been authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think that translates now, right? Like, I understand your background and your upbringing with your father being in business, but why do you think that is also true in the business that you're currently at?
I think it's changed in the sense that, and probably in 2008, when the economy kind of sank a little bit, right? And the internet kind of took over a lot of things, and everybody was buying everything on the internet. You suck the soul out of everything when all we're doing is talking about, oh, I bought this on Amazon. Nobody cares you bought anything on Amazon. You know what I mean? It's pretty embarrassing actually to admit you're buying things on Amazon at this point. It's like my son ordering his food from DoorDash. I'm like, don't tell me you do that. I think people want to hear experienced people talk about things that they're in. I
Mm,
don't think that ever goes away. I think that people that love cars, they'll always talk about cars. I think people that are into the furniture industry, I think as a whole, our industry has done a terrible job as far as like educating educating the consumer. I mean, I'll say that to the day I die, probably, because we got so consumed by sales that we forgot that, oh, just like the ergonomic thing, it's like everybody now has an ergonomic knife for some reason. Well, we went to the bottom, and we raced to the bottom on everything in sales. We're like, oh, let's see how cheap we can get chairs. Let's see how cheap we can get a sit stand, or adjustable height desk, and sell it, whatever. When really we should have just continued to educate the consumer. Because when I was young, when I was a kid, a chair, for example, an office chair would cost $600, $500 or $600, and it would come assembled out of the box. Now, you can buy a chair for $145. It's insane, right? It won't last as long, but now you're having to re-educate the consumer. And I think now consumers want to be educated on products that they're buying. I think you're seeing a curve
mm,
back into that, especially ones that
mhm.
are serious about buying things. You're always going to have people that say they can buy things cheaper. That's not going to go away. But the reality is people need an office space that looks the way that they see it in their head. And it's your job to figure out what's in their head.
So
I don't know how to do
what
that.
does that look like though? I agree. I agree strongly with what you just said. But what does that look like to you? Right? Like how do you or how do you typically take the education piece? Like because again, to your point earlier, sales is you getting the person on your side, making them laugh, bringing that barrier down. But now the
Hmm.
barrier is down. Now
Hmm.
how do you seal that deal? How do you get them to go from, fun liking John to trusting in his words and knowing him as a subject matter expert and then landing the deal?
Well, that's when knowing your product, not when that's when product knowledge comes into play. When you know, I believe that all your higher end products in our industry have stayed the same for the last 30 years. And I believe that the middle of the road products, that like all the products that we sell, which are not middle of the road, but they're very high in that to us, they're very good. JSI, OFS stuff, they have elevated their products. They've elevated them to the status. So they now, if I go in and show them that this product from Herman Miller, let's say, costs X, but this product is made the exact same way, but it costs 25 to 30% less
Mm.
with the same materials, with the same, ergonomics design, whatever. I plus now they already entrust me, so they know I'm not trying to do a bait and switch on them, and I'm showing them this is A chair, this is B chair, or A desk, B desk, cubicle, whatever it is, and you bring them into that. I always try to start them out with the stuff that they think that they want, and then we can bring it down to what they actually want, because what they think they want is stuff they've seen with their eyes, and they don't know anything about the cost and all of that stuff. So you do have to know their budgets a lot of times. If you don't know their budget, then you're just shooting at darts in the night. You're not trying. But when you can educate a consumer on products that you know about, you will win every time if they want to be
Yeah.
educated. If they want to be
Yeah.
educated, I mean, they're.
Do you, this is just a curious question. Do you think that it's when you say education, right? Obviously, I do agree with that. Do you think it's education in a sense of like physical things, right? Do you think it's education of like, oh, I need a pamphlet, or do you think it's education in a sense of you calling them up, getting on a call, and saying this is why you need this for X, Y, Z reasons?
Oh, you mean to put stuff in their head?
Yeah, because like I feel like a lot of times salespeople are like every consumer says something along the lines of like, "Oh yeah, just send me a PDF and then I'll take a look at it," and then they
Mhm.
end up like, and then you end up creating this PDF and then you send it to them and then they don't look at it. So I was kind of curious, like when you say education, like I agree with you, education is important, but like what does education look like to you specifically? Can it be in the form of something that given to them, or
Oh, you mean are
is
they
it
are they
you?
going to educate themselves with
Yeah,
it? Like
exactly. Yeah.
if I send them here's a pamphlet or a PDF of something, are they going to go, oh wow, I read that last night and that was amazing? Probably not.
Correct. Exactly right. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sending
Yeah,
it
no, they're
this
not.
PDF
No,
over. Like to me, I
you're
think
going to have to educate
education.
them by going to their office and dropping off
Exactly. Yeah.
product and letting them see it. You're going to have to go over there. You're going to have to drop off. We used to go in Atlanta. I got a customer that they would buy tons of chairs, and we try to standardize people on seating, and we would go over there and drop off 2 or 3 chairs at a time and say keep them for a couple of weeks. We would do a demonstration. Sometimes we would get the manufacturing rep involved if there was a lot of chairs, and do like a thing that way a lot of times to educate. And you have to do it like now you have to do them in 30-second splits, just like TikTok. I mean, you have to, people's mindsets very quick. And so if you can show people really quick what that chair can do, um, or a sit stand desk, what the benefits of that are, or like why certain cubicles don't need to be high, but whatever it is, the new marker boards that have all the computers attached to them, all of that if you can that's a very good question. I think that I need to probably think on a little bit more on how you can educate them without realizing that they're having to do homework. It's kind of like
Yeah,
what
I
you're
mean,
saying, right?
it's hard to like say for sure, like what makes sense and what doesn't make
Hmm.
sense. But I always just find myself like the objections, I guess. Like handling objections is super important. And I think in order to handle objection, you have to understand the customer better. And so I was curious to see your perspective because you seem like a very charismatic, personal guy. Like what success you found in just educating a consumer in general of like what what the product, like the benefits and the features of this product.
I mean, if I knew, like, I'll just use an example. Like, I had Classic Collision's account in Atlanta, so they were a big collision firm, and I did all their all. Like, and I knew the owner of the company. If I walked in there and we were friends, and I talked to the facilities guy and him, and I rolled a seat in there, a chair, and I said, your client, your employees would benefit from this chair. He would trust he would trust what I said, and he would buy that chair. And so that bridge that you have to get to where that guy trusts, he's like, or he'll say, bring me 2 or 3 chairs that we can look at and try out, because it's not, look, man, you're sitting in a chair as long as you're sleeping. Like, you know what I mean?
Sometimes more.
Yeah. And so we want to spend 145, and I have people that'll say, that are other sales guys, they'll say, how much does your average employee make? Right. And then they'll say, well, if you're not spending over $400 on a chair, I do not want your business, which is bananas, dude. I've never done that. But he says it works, and he has some of the biggest accounts I know of. But that is very good. I need to go back and think on how to educate people without realizing they're being educated, to get them to consume products that we sell without feeling like we're trying to get one over on them.
Yeah. And you know what? That's funny, because that's, at the end, that's the beauty of sales, right? No one really understands this. It's forever evolving and changing.
It's like comedy.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the perfect way to end this conversation, because, we just went through like a whole shtick right now. You took me on a journey, John. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Anything I can do, man. I'll close with this, with my dad's thing. One story about my dad real quick. He passed away in 2018. I'll try to do this like without emotional discourse. But when all my friends worked for my dad's old company. It was a small little furniture company. Probably did a couple $1,000,000 a year. Wasn't like a huge thing. And they still talk about how great of a job it was, right? Like the best. When he died of cancer, 6 weeks gone. He was my business partner. I had a company doing this. He was my partner. But more of a working partner, like just giving me advice and all that, like not really get me in the business at all. I didn't get any handouts from it at all. My dad was a quiet guy, but he was the last man. I'm going to write a book called The Last Man about him. At his funeral, there was probably 300 people there. The biggest funeral I've ever been to, right? 12 of my friends spoke at my dad's funeral. My dad only spoke 1,700 words his whole life. Like, he was a quiet dude. And I would say this, it's never about how much you say. That never works. It's always about what you say and how you live. That gets people to buy, and that impacts the most. And my dad had some of the biggest clients that, and people would always go, how'd your dad get these clients? It was because it was how he lived and how he said, when he said what he said. And that's the stoicism it was the inner confidence that you have too. And so it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. That's what I would say about it. Yeah.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for that story, John. And I'm sorry to hear about your father.
Yeah.
And it's cool, man. It's cool to see what you've been able to create yourself for yourself in your life. Given the inspiration that you have from your family, man. So congratulations on your success, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your office isn't just where work happens. It's where culture is built, ideas are born, and teams come together. And if your workspace doesn't support the people in it, everything else becomes harder. That's where Boomerang and Common Sense Office Furniture comes in, supporting communities in Orlando, Florida, the tri-state area, and everywhere in between. Boomerang and Common Sense both specialize in high-quality office, hospitality, healthcare, and educational furniture that doesn't just look good, it performs. Whether you're furnishing a growing team, redesigning for hybrid work, or just need furniture that actually works for how people collaborate, Boomerang and Common Sense make it easy and affordable. Visit boomerangofficefurniture.com to see how the right furniture can transform the way your team works.